Hate is unrequited love.
Unrequited?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It means when you have given love to someone and you didn't feel they gave you love back, then the ego starts to hate them. Because love at the ego level is a demand to be loved. And so if you give your love to someone and you don't feel like you have been recognized and your love has been valued as the gift that it is, you'll hate that person. And so children develop hate, and particularly toward the parents. That's what creates the Oedipus complex and the other various complexes that therapy has recognized. But the hate is always love that has gone bad because it wasn't a two-way flow. But once you're in soul consciousness or above, it doesn't need to be a two-way flow. It's given without any need to get anything back. But the ego needs to get something back because it's in a state of lack, you see. And so the love that it gives is not true love. It's a quid pro quo. It's an exchange. And if it doesn't get enough strokes back for the strokes that it gives, then it turns into an enemy of the other rather than a lover. So those kinds of things have then created tendencies to shut down, to not give love. Eventually you could become a very hateful curmudgeon, because you gave love and didn't get it back enough times that you said never again. But then if love doesn't flow from you, you die from that. Your heart gets attacked. So to give forth is to let your heart's energy flow, and it heals you. And so the more love you give, the more you receive from God, and then life becomes beautiful. But the ego doesn't get that. So it says no, right? But until that no becomes a yes, no healing can happen. And that's forgiveness.
So I'm thinking in terms of when you say children learn to hate, I think I understood your response, but I'm wondering at what point does that happen? Because you're born, the instant you're born, are you already giving love, and at that moment you're already beginning to develop hate? Or is it later that you begin to show?
It starts as fear. It starts as fear because the child is totally dependent on the mother. And it can't speak, it can't move, it can't do anything for itself. So it screams. And if mommy comes when it screams, it knows it's loved. All right? Its scream is already the first demand for love in the form of breast milk or having a diaper changed or whatever. And often the mother can't figure out, what does the scream mean? What does he want? So then that frustrates the baby. And then that creates the tendency already toward doubt that the mother gets it or sees you or is there for you. And then as the baby grows older, its needs become less, but its demand becomes greater. And so if the mother, let's say, goes off and leaves it alone too long, the baby will start to will lose the memory of the mother as a loving object. And if the mother is gone for too long, the mother dies to the baby emotionally. And then even when the mother returns, it's too late. And the mother has been rejected, and then there'll be a relation of hate. And often, if the mother is gone too long, at too early a stage, that relationship is broken. And sometimes is broken forever. And that's when children start to get very difficult diseases to deal with. So the mother's presence is extremely important, and in most traditional cultures, the child is not separated from the mother for a year. And the child will be on a papoose in the back, mother's shoulders, but it'll always be with the mother or with grandmother or with someone and nearby the mother, so that it never has this fear of abandonment until its motor skills are enough that it can go and get its own food and do things that don't require the mother's attention.
Can this absence for too long and the trauma that you just described, can that also occur if there's an absence later in life, still within the childhood, but say age 5, 6?
It won't be as traumatic, and the child will be able to deal with it, and if the child already knows language, then you can explain why, and the child will be able to forgive, and the relationship won't be broken. But if it happens before there can be that symbolic communication, and all the child knows is it's been abandoned, it feels rejected, unloved, unworthy to live, it wants to die, and a terrible, traumatic sense of itself takes hold of it, and it's in the grip of the death drive. So that's why it's very important to create the right environment as a mother.
And if it's not explained, if that's not, sorry.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And that's when, when the child can understand these things, it needs therapy. And that's why children's therapy is developed.